Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to talk about how to price your art today. As you can tell, I'm at the beach, and I guess I can technically work anywhere because this is YouTube. I realized recently that a lot of people don't really know how to price their art. There are a lot of different ways to do it that I've noticed have floated around the internet, and I wanted to add my 2 cents on how I have been able to sell my art because it can kind of be a difficult topic to talk about. Before we get started, my name is Janet. I'm an ex-Disney artist turned independent creator. I quit my job last year in order to go full-time into my independent art business. If you like videos like this, make sure to like this video, jingle all my bells and buttons for new videos every Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So let's get started. So I just typed in how to price your art, and this is the first result that pops up. Pay yourself a reasonable hourly wage, add the cost of materials, and make that your asking price. For example, if materials cost $50, you take 20 hours to make the art, and you pay yourself $20 an hour to make it. Then you price the art at $450 multiplied by 20 hours plus $50 cost of materials. I don't know about you, but that's extremely confusing, even for me, a math nerd. No, I am not good at math just because I'm Asian. I don't know, maybe that's part of it. Regardless of being maybe halfway decent at math. When I first started doing this, I tried doing this formula, and it was kind of a mess because it was really difficult to keep track of all the materials that I was using, how much they costed, the tax, all this stuff, and then to pay myself an hourly wage. First of all, when you are first doing any kind of art, you are extremely slow at doing anything. So that doesn't really check out because people aren't going to pay a beginner or an amateur a whole lot of money for their art. So asking for hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, simply because you want to be able to pay yourself $20 an hour or whatever hourly wage doesn't really make sense, especially for what I was doing. I wanted to sell prints of fan art and of original art that I had created at conventions and stuff like that. So this video is specifically going to be about my experience selling prints and commissions and that kind of thing. I have never shown at galleries before, so I don't really have too much experience doing that, and I'm not really going to be talking about the hourly wage that you should charge as a freelancer or someone working full-time, let's say in the animation industry. So what did I do? At first, I tried calculating the cost. I calculated the cost of inks to print my prints, I calculated paper, I calculated the time it took to create the artwork, and I ended up with an amount that was way too high for prints. And how do you even know what to charge when you are selling maybe 10 prints? Do you divide it by 10? That's still going to be really expensive. So what I would recommend instead is to do your research, especially when you're selling product, because you are not the first person to sell prints to begin with. The first thing you should probably do is find other artists in your similar niche. Let's say you like anime. Find an artist that is really similar to your style, who might be a little bit further ahead in their career. I would say find about 5 to 10 different artists and compare the cost of their products. How much are they charging for their print? The reason why I would recommend doing it this way first is because you know that they are actually selling. You know that this is the average going price for things like prints, keychains, stickers, buttons, whatever it is you want to sell. Keep in mind that their prices might actually be too high still for you. I remember doing this at the time, and I looked at other people's art and I thought, well, I want to be competitive and I know the quality of my work is great, so I actually priced it above what other people were charging it for. I think at the time people were charging maybe $10 to $15 for a 11 by 17 print. I remember setting the prices of my prints to $25. With absolutely zero experience selling, that is a very bad idea. I basically had to throw a lot of my early prints away because they just simply wouldn't sell. And that's my next tip. You need to price to sell. At the beginning, you should probably price cheaper than you think you deserve. Not because you don't deserve it, but because you have absolutely no experience. You want to build experience selling art first, and then slowly increase your prices. Honestly, this is exactly the same way I would price it even if I were freelancing or working full-time as well. When you have very little experience, there's basically no reason for anyone to take you seriously, even if you are very, very good. Also, this way of doing things might not be the greatest for traditional artists. And here's why. You probably already noticed that there's a huge downside to doing it this way, that you might actually lose money on the cost of supplies if you don't calculate all of that. And yes, that's probably the case at first. I can't tell you how many artists only covered the cost of supplies right when they first started. They just wanted to be able to create the art, sell the art to buy more supplies, and then rinse and repeat, never really making much of a profit. But this will pay off in the long run because this is the difference between value pricing and hourly pricing. If you are charging hourly for your services or for your time, there's kind of a limit to how much you can earn because there's only so many hours you have in a day. If you're charging on the value of the product or the service you provide, the perceived value of the thing can increase tenfold. The sky is the limit to how much you can charge for your item. So at first, your product or your service won't be perceived as that valuable at first when you're not very experienced, you don't have a community, you don't really have a following. But as you grow these things, as the more you sell and the more you make a good impression on people, or the more you grow your social media following, the more you can start increasing your prices. So in my personal experience, I didn't make any money at all selling prints and commissions for a really long time. And I had to suck up my pride and reduce the price of everything. So I would sit there at conventions not making any money for a really long time and wondering why. And then slowly but surely, I would reduce the price of my prints and my commissions. I reduced the $25 prints down to $20, and I still wasn't selling. So I reduced it again to $15. And then I reduced some of my smaller prints to $10. For commissions, especially the large ones, I used to sell them for $25. I spent probably 2 or 3 hours plus supplies on these commissions. So I wasn't really making much money at all. In fact, some people didn't even want to pay $25 for my commissions. So some of the cheapest commissions I ever did was $1 on little index cards. When you're spending 15 to 30 minutes, even an hour on these little index card drawings, you're making much less than minimum wage. But the thing is, that's actually how I built my following, especially when 1, I wasn't very good yet, 2, I didn't have a following at all, and 3, no one knew who I was. So when I would cover my convention table with drawings, it really made an impact. A lot of people started coming over, they started noticing and sticking around to watch what I was drawing, and it increased my value. Not only that, they would look at my $1 drawings and see exactly how much skill I had. So they would invest in the $25 commissions to get exactly what they wanted. I pretty quickly went from 0 sales, 0 attention, people completely passing me over, to a lot of people started coming over to our table and buying our work. And surprisingly, these $1 commissions, these $25 commissions, these $10 and $15 prints really started adding up. And I started making thousands of dollars at trade shows, at conventions, and in my online store because of that. So you might be asking, when do you start increasing your prices? Because you don't want to be working so hard for so little money for very long, do you? Well, I would actually say keep the prices as low as possible for as long as you can take it, until you literally have too much demand for your art. So I didn't actually increase my prices until I didn't have enough time to fulfill all my commissions, and I kept selling out of my prints. But the thing is, it was really, really slow. I didn't just go from selling $25 commissions to $200 commissions overnight. It doesn't really work that way. I went from selling $25 commissions to $40 commissions, $35, $45, $50, $100 to $200 at this point. And my commission prices will continue to increase. The more popular my art gets, the more people and collectors are interested in my art and are willing to pay me for my art. Same thing with prints. I started at $10, $15. I have now increased them to $20, $25, $30. And the reason why I did this isn't because I just wanted more money. Not at all. It was actually supply and demand. I literally could not keep up with demand. There was not enough supply. When I would go to conventions, I quickly would get booked practically for all 3 or 4 days from morning till night, and it'd be really, really hard to keep up with the demand. I literally did not have time to eat, and sometimes I would do commissions in the hotel room or when I would get home just to keep up. At a certain point, I had to start turning people away because I didn't have enough time to do all these commissions. On top of that, my prints were selling out like crazy, practically on the first day of a convention. When that starts happening and you can't keep up with the demand, it's time to raise prices, and that's a pretty good thing. A lot of people are kind of scared to do that because you don't want to alienate your customers who are used to paying you $25 for commissions. But yes, that will happen. Unfortunately, it will happen. People who used to be able to afford your commissions or your art at $25 are probably not the same people who can afford your art at $200. But that's okay. You yourself have to grow as an artist, and people will understand that, especially if you grow incrementally. Plus, I'm pretty proud to offer really expensive art now because my old supporters and collectors, they have a really valuable piece of art that because they invested in me early, they got for fairly cheap. So to summarize, make sure to do your research, price to sell, meaning price low, slowly increase your prices depending on supply and demand, and I hope that helps you get your very first sale, and it works the exact same way in person and online. If you like this video, make sure to like this video, jingle all my bells and buttons for more art and entrepreneurship type videos. If you'd like to support this channel, it would mean a lot to me to head over to honeyandabsinthe.com to help buy some merch. I have t-shirts, mugs, all sorts of things. If you want to learn more about how to use social media to grow your online business, check out my free guide, 8 Steps to Launch Your Online Store. Check out these other videos next to learn more about how to grow on social media, and don't forget to dare to dream.